Welcome to Smithville Chamber Chatter, coming to you from historic Smithville, Texas. We're here to talk about all things Smithville, including upcoming events, updates and tips for and about local businesses, important news, election updates, and more. Brought to you by the Smithville Area Chamber of Commerce, I'm your host, April Daniels. Welcome to our podcast. Okay, so just for those that are watching online, you can see that we are now live on Facebook. I'm going to hit record, so I have a double coverage, and now here we are, ready to go. Thank you to everyone that is logging in today on our Smithville Area Chamber of Commerce sponsored candidate forum. Last night, as many of you I'm sure know, we held the forum for the school board candidates. There are quite a few candidates this year, so that's why we split this into 2 evenings of candidate forums. Tonight, we are welcoming our candidates for mayor and for city council. As you can see on your screen, we have all but one of our candidates here this evening. Danielle Tenorio unfortunately had a conflict and was unable to appear. If she can, she will try to log in somewhere near the end. She did ask me to let you know that if you'd like to see her, she will be having a meet and greet on this coming Sunday at Rio Social Club from 4 to 6. So feel free to go and see her there. Our candidates today are for mayor, Joanna Morgan and Jerry Callahan. And then for a variety of places on our city council, which I will not be the one to tell you what those are. Our candidates are welcome to do so. We have Bill, in no particular order, Bill Gordon, Betty McBriar, Charles Diltz, Stan Gertis, and Tom Etheridge. They have all been given the questions beforehand, so they have plenty of time to kind of think their answers through. These are timed so that we can try to get through in just under 90 minutes. I would ask the candidates to let me know if you need me to repeat the question. We will get started. I will keep time, and I may break in in the spirit of fairness and everybody's having the same time. Does anybody have any questions before we get started? Okay. And for those of you that are watching or listening out there, not only can you watch Facebook Live, this also will be available as a recorded candidate forum anytime that you would like to see it or anyone else would like to see it on our chamber Facebook page, as well as the library Facebook page. And we will be uploading it to our YouTube channel as well. So there's plenty of opportunities to see this content in all of those spaces. With that, having said that, we're going to go ahead and get started. And we drew names out of a hat. So we're going to start with our mayoral candidates. And that will be, we're going to start with Mayor Morgan. And I'll just start with the question. And as I move down the list, please let me know if you need me to repeat the question. So Mayor Morgan, please tell us about yourself, what office you are seeking, why you are seeking this specific office, and your qualifications to fill the office.
All right, thank you, April. I'm Joanna Morgan. I'm the current mayor of Smithville, and I am running to complete the term to which I was appointed when Mayor Saunders resigned. There's another year left on the term, and I hope to serve that out. I've served on the council since 2012, and since 2015, I've served as mayor pro tem. So I believe my experience on the council and in the mayor pro tem position qualified me to be mayor. Prior to moving to Smithville, my entire career was in Houston, Texas, and I managed IT departments across a variety of industries. I've worked in commercial construction, manufacturing, oil and gas, and also several years with Harris County, the county that Houston is in, where I developed a juvenile justice system. I think my business experience, as well as my experience on the council, qualifies me to handle the duties of mayor, participating with the council and managing a $12.4 million budget, evaluating contracts and proposals, listening to and responding to citizen complaints and problems and suggestions, and also being part of the decisions that shape the future of our community. It's a responsibility that I do not take lightly. I think my most important role this year will be to add my experience on the council to provide continuity for the new members who will be joining us on the council. Thank you, April.
Thank you, Mayor. Jerry Callahan.
Hello, my name is Jerry Callahan, and I am running for mayor for Smithville, Texas. I moved to Smithville in 1969. Some of you may remember my dad, Coach Charlie Callahan, back in the day. I graduated from Smithville High School in 1976. I attended Texas A&M and TSTI and was hired directly by Hughes Aircraft before I completed my education at TSTI. I have worked my way up from technician to project engineer to program manager in aerospace companies. I spent the last 14 years as a weekend supervisor in a post-production company in California. My decision to run for mayor of the city of Smithville was not taken lightly. I did not intend to run for office and retired back to this wonderful town. I did attend planning and zoning meetings, and I realized that my experience of a small town Texas boy moving to California gives me a unique perspective on what economic development is heading our way. Smithville faces some very unique challenges in small towns. I have led production line work. I have led design teams to develop a brand new design simply from specifications. I can say I have been invited to give papers at NASA and other aerospace forums. Please allow me to take the opportunity to let the citizens of Smithville, businesses alike, develop a set of specifications and let me design the future of Smithville. A vote for me, for Jerry Callahan, will allow me to focus on our special town of Smithville. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Callahan. Councilman Gordon, Bill Gordon.
Yes, thank you very much. Good evening, folks. My name is Bill Gordon. My parents, William and Zerly Gordon, were highly regarded educators in Bastrop County. Many of you watching here in Smithville have had the loving experience of my mother's tutelage. I like to say that I received the benefits of homeschooling and public schooling while here. My mom began to teach me when I was at the age of 3. I'm a 1964 graduate of Mary Brown High School here in Smithville. I left Smithville to pursue a college education, work as a university professor, researcher, and engineer in the high-tech world of semiconductors. As a 6-year public servant on the Smithville City Council Place 3 and as Mayor Pro Tem, I decided to run for re-election to Place 3 in order to continue the management of rapid change that we see here in the city of Smithville. New people are coming to our community. Change is underway. Growth and expansion are on the horizon. We have a very effective and experienced management team in place. This team has the commitment and capabilities necessary to address the change and the challenges that many of us will experience. I'm seeking re-election to a 4th term on the Smithville City Council for one reason, to serve the public. It is my way of making a contribution to the town that I love, the town that shaped my life, and the town that gave me so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman Gordon. Next, Betty McBriar.
Thank you, April. Well, I'm a native Smithville, graduating in 1971. I've always loved this town with its small town charm and easy-going lifestyle. I'm not against new growth, but I am for proper management of that growth. If I'm elected to the council, I will be the complete package, which is sometimes called a trifecta. First, being a native, I know the history and heritage of our town and why people find it so endearing. I vividly remember running around on these streets and going to the movies on weekends with friends. I also remember what it was like after graduation and leaving, wanting to leave and explore the country. So I can identify with the younger generation. Second, having been back for over 25 years, I am now in the stage of retirement, which affords me to connect with the older generation, being with the concerns of taxation, being taxed out of our homes, and safety in the community. And third, I have 3 daughters and all their families live here. Together, they have given us 7 grandchildren. So I can understand those as well who are looking to the future with their own children and wanting to keep this town as charming and safe and as endearing as we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. Next, we have Charles Tilts.
Thank you, April. Hello, my name is Charles Diltz, and I'm running for City Council Place 3. This is the first time running for City Council. First off, I'd like to say I was blessed to be born and raised here in Smithville, Texas. I graduated here and worked many jobs while completing my Bachelor's of Science degree. Currently, I'm employed by the Smithville Independent School District for the past 8 years. I'm also a fourth generation rancher working to save a legacy that was nearly lost in the Bastrop Complex fire. Additionally, I work in the field of technology as a legal analyst while completing and pursuing a graduate's degree in forensic accounting. In the past, my family has been honored with the opportunity to serve on city council. My great-grandfather Hollop helped establish the Crawford Airport on the outside of town. Also, my grandfather, Charles E. Diltz, also served on the council with distinction. From this legacy, I hope to preserve our heritage while looking to enrich and protect the future of our community, anchored in history with a smart eye on growth, because growth is here and it's happening now. It's inevitable, but what we can do is to shape these changes, not growth for the sake of quick profits, but planning and nurturing growth, shaping growth that will make our lives better with needed jobs and services. If we implement this change properly, we can create opportunities in our community that will allow people to stay, work, raise families, have homes, and above all, prosper here in Smithville. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Stan Gertis.
Thank you, April. I'm Stan Gerdes, running for place 4. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with everybody tonight, even if it is virtually. I'm looking forward to getting back to the way things used to be with the handshake and grabbing somebody's ear when you're walking around out in public. But anyway, a little bit about me. My wife and I chose to put down roots in Smithville because we love the tight-knit community offered by a small town. I'm running to ensure that everything about Smithville that drew us here is preserved for all the existing and future families. Most importantly, small town values, the traditions, the sense of community, and the beautiful historic homes and buildings. Smithville has provided so much to us, and we want to give back in return. As for my qualifications, my wife and I are both proud graduates of the University of Texas at Austin. I've been very fortunate to have worked with Governor Rick Perry for nearly a decade, starting at the Texas Governor's Office throughout his years as Secretary of Energy, and now in the private sector. I have a unique understanding of how to lead and work with large and diverse teams to solve problems. I'm able to negotiate roadblocks and with a collaborative and common sense approach in order to get things done. When we got back from DC, we restored a 1938 Tudor-style home on Gresham Street, which instilled in us the pride of home ownership, helped us form relationships with many local business owners and people in the community. This has inspired us to do everything we can to help preserve and restore the charming look and feel of Smithville and the historic district.
Thank you, Stan. And finally, Tom Etheridge.
Thank you, April. I too am honored to be part of this group and appreciate the opportunity. My name is Tom Etheridge. I'm a candidate for place 2 for City Council. I grew up in a small Central Texas town, one that's smaller than Smithville is now. With that upbringing, I'm familiar with and appreciate the benefits and challenges associated with small towns. My wife, Debbie, and I live on Ramona and absolutely love Smithville. In addition to our fondness, we also have emotional ties here via our daughter, son-in-law, and 2 young grandchildren that live on Burn Street. I chose to become a candidate to serve the community and to influence its future in ways that preserve what's special about Smithville and ensures a bright future for the next generation. I want my grandkids to experience the quality of small town life that I grew up enjoying. I want them to be able to safely walk, play, and ride bikes around tree-lined streets and around town, attend Smithville schools, and hopefully play for the Smithville sporting teams. When they graduate, I'd really love for them to be able to find a job locally and stay in Smithville and own a home. I graduated from St. Edward's University with a degree in economics. Over the course of the past roughly 30 years, I've worked in various executive leadership positions in banking, real estate, and natural resources. These are professional experiences which I believe would allow me to provide a unique perspective and leadership on economic development and growth challenges that we're most certainly going to be facing. I believe personally in servant leadership and a collaborative management or leadership style, both of which I think are extremely important for public service, where consensus building is critical. Thanks again for letting me be here, April.
Thank you, Tom. We're going to move on to question number 2. Please describe in detail the community efforts or projects you have taken an active or leadership role in, and how many city council meetings you have attended in the last 2 years. Mayor Morgan.
All right, as an active council member, I've attended all the council meetings for the past 2 years, and actually for about 8 or 9 before that. Since joining the council in 2012, most of my community involvement has been through my position on the council. Prior to that, I served on the library board. I served on the board of the Chamber of Commerce. I've participated in several organizations in town, both as a council member and as a private citizen prior to that. Most recently, especially as mayor, I'm serving as ex officio member of several of the boards in town. I've spent quite a bit of time with the Historic Design Standards Advisory Committee and coming up with the standards for keeping the look and feel of our downtown. And as that, the mission of that committee expands into the residential areas. I'm an ex officio member also of the Chamber Board, which has been a real pleasure, April, getting back involved in chamber activities again. And I also am participating in the various committees that are addressing different aspects of our strategic plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Morgan. Jerry Callahan.
Yes, there are public charity works and there are private charity works. My skills in volunteering are in the private area. I was known in my neighborhood in California as a go-to guy to help with any computer-related problems. I fixed PCs, configured networks, recovered data from hard drives, gave backup help, and helped small businesses connect their PCs when they moved or bought new systems. All of these areas require confidentiality and their access to private information. I was also available for building fences and remodeling and doing moving help, the typical next door guy. I continue to do the same thing in Smithville, as well as helping a very close cousin take care of his property and an older brother's property, mowing on the tractor, fixing barbed wire fences, metal building construction, and the like. My wife Sandra and I have donated books and other classroom materials continuously from primary school education through college level courses. Again, these are private level type donations. I have attended several planning and zoning meetings, council meetings, and economic Zoom meetings for the chamber. I was at the very controversial council meeting last night, as a matter of fact, that decided the fate of the hospital development board. Somehow this development plan moved forward from the hospital board selling the land to a design to a plat, and the residents were not notified. I was disappointed in how the manager, the mayor, admitted to missing items. I was also disappointed how the meeting did not follow Robert's rules. I encourage you, the citizens, to watch the YouTube recording of this meeting and see how the topics that will greatly affect the
Mr.
future.
Callahan, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you are at 90 seconds. I apologize
Thank you very much.
for having to interrupt. Next would be Councilmember Gordon.
Thank you very much. During my past experience as a council member, I've been on the boards of many charitable, community, and quasi-governmental organizations that serve Smithville directly. Capital Area Council of Governments, Chamber of Commerce, Smithville Community Clinic, Smithville Housing Authority, and the Smithville Homecoming Committee, just to name a few. I also do charity work for Mount Pilgrim Baptist Church and provide private scholarships for deserving students in Bastrop County. Consequently, I've forged longstanding strategic relationships that enable me to get things done here as well as around the county. Moving forward, I will solidify my relationships with these organizations and citizens. I will continue to forge relationships with all the citizens of our community to elicit input regarding important issues and concerns. I've always taken such a proactive stance and will continue to do so in the future. I will continue my work of improving the quality of life for all citizens of Smithville and be a, quote, voice for the entire community. You can see that on the back of my little business card that I hand out. Now, regarding attendance at city council meetings, I can proudly say, as Joanna has mentioned, I've attended all city council meetings, not only for the last 2 years, but for the last 6 years. I've demonstrated my commitment to doing what I call the business of the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Gordon. Betty McBriar.
Thank you, April. I was on the development board for the Smithville Community Clinic and volunteered in the front office for many months once it was established. During the many disasters that have involved Smithville since 2011, I have volunteered in many different ways to help the community to reorganize. Sometimes it meant washing linens for the rec center, shelter during the fire, or babysitting for staff members who had to work extra shifts that were needed. Unfortunately, for the last many years, I have been called on to be a caregiver for many family members. So therefore, I have only been able to attend 2 of the city council meetings. One of them, the meeting last night, which was very interesting, and I'm glad I was able to attend it. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. Next, Charles Dilts. Charles, you are muted. You'll need to unmute yourself.
All right, sorry about that. First, I want to say it was great to finally be able to attend a city council meeting in person for the first time in quite a while. I have, as far as attendance goes, I have watched every city council meeting here in the past two years. Also, with that being said, since I graduated Smithville High School, I have not been able to participate in many public projects as I would like to. However, in that time, I have joined the Masonic Lodge and I have been an active member since 2009. Just recently, I've joined the Chamber of Commerce. I've been working with the Chamber, looking into suggestions on where to put some new wayfaring signs. Also, since I introduced myself, y'all know I work with the Smithville Independent School District. I volunteer at the concession stands. I volunteered to work at the gates for the last several years. Also, privately, I help many citizens around town if they have any issues with technology, computers, email. I volunteer out myself, help out in any way I possibly can. And I want to say I'm looking forward to going forward to participating in many more events coming up here soon. And once again, April and the Chamber, thank you for putting on this event.
Thank you, Charles. Next, Stan Gerdes.
All right. Well, I guess one of the things that come out of COVID, I don't know if it's necessarily a good or bad thing, but since the meetings have come online, I guess that was earlier last year, we were able to watch those virtually, and I'm glad that we're getting back to in-person meetings, especially if they're going to be as eventful as the one last night. Smithville offers a ton of ways to get involved in the community, and I've enjoyed volunteering at several of the worthy causes that are around town, including the Smithville Food Pantry that provides food to families in need every Wednesday morning. I recently joined volunteers at Feed the Need Missions, which grills up hot meals for families every Tuesday night at MLK Park. I'm also an active member of the Smithville Golf Cart Club, which is an organization that does quarterly fundraising events for local charities, most recently raising over $15,000 for a local family facing a health crisis. And then the weekend before Easter, we delivered Easter eggs to over 60 families in the community donated by the Smithville Police Association. My wife, Sam, remains an active member in the Junior League, as well as volunteered for many organizations such as FIT, which is Food in Tummies, Drive a Senior, and Coats for Kids. And over the last year, she's enjoyed getting involved with the Smithville Historic Preservation Society and loves researching our town's historic homes and buildings. I encourage everyone to check out all these fantastic organizations and get involved if you can.
Thank you, Stan. And finally, Tom Etheridge.
Thanks, April. I've become involved in the local Chamber of Commerce, as you know, as a member, and also teeing up a variety of sponsorships that Debbie and I intend to do throughout this year. I currently serve on Planning and Zoning Commission. Debbie and I have lived in Smithville for less than 2 years. And during that time, I attended between 6 and 8 city council meetings.
Okay, thank you, Stan. Thank you, Tom. Up next is a set of 3 questions. These were all submitted by local community members. And again, we will start in the same order. I will read off the question, and please let me know if you need me to repeat it at any time. We'll start again with Mayor Morgan. What immediate goals and what long-term goals do you feel are most important for the city to address? For example, infrastructure, business growth, tax rate reductions, or housing? And I'll remind you that these 3 sets of questions, you'll have 2 minutes instead of 90 seconds.
Thank you, April. Actually, the goals for this year and into next year were defined during the budget process last August. The major ones of those are completing the repairs to the water towers and the ground storage tanks, for which we issued a certificate of obligation last year. That project should finish up this year. Also, completion of the new chamber office, visitor center, and museum, which is a project I know is near and dear to the hearts of many people. Completion of the utility relocation and drainage improvements in conjunction with TxDOT widening Highway 95 from the railroad tracks to FM 535 is in the early phases. The design projects have been completed. Those were completed pretty much last year. This year we have been working on funding, and that should probably get started in August and will be that will probably go on for about 1.5 years. One of my personal passions is updating the zoning map to support a plan for future growth. This is something that will be initiated short term, but I'm sure will continue well into next year. And also supporting design review and permitting for proposed residential and commercial development projects. Looking a little longer term, some starting this year, but moving on through the next 2 to 5 years. Completing an update of city ordinances to comply with updated building codes and best practices from other municipalities. I think the meeting last night was certainly one indication of the deficiencies we have in our ordinances now. Part of which is complicated by the fact that we're operating off of an old building code just because the city has not had the money to bring into ADA compliance all the buildings we would have to bring into compliance to move forward. So
Mayor Morgan, I apologize for interrupting, but you are at 2 minutes.
Okay, well, I will stop there then. Thank you.
Okay. Jerry Callahan.
Yes, thank you. Complicated question. I believe our immediate goals are to update our current planning and zoning procedures. Again, I ask you to watch the YouTube video of last night's council meeting as well as last week's planning and zoning meeting. Council members said they could not hear answers to the planning and zoning questions. A former member of the planning and zoning had asked in the past to implement some training for newly appointed planning and zoning members. After multiple mayors, this apparently is still an open item. In order to satisfy any long-term plans, the city must have a very close look at the ordinances. Last night's meeting, we had to do a variance to allow 2.5 story to go to 3 stories and 35 feet to go to 40 feet. A very well thought out plan for 9-unit apartment complex to allow 3 stories for HVAC and other utilities as well as structural considerations. A mayor needs to listen to the past and current planning and zoning members, work with these members for our ordinances, which again go back as far as 1998. These things, we don't need to throw roadblocks in our way. We have money coming in grants. We have plenty of plans on the way. Let's not hold ourselves back.
Thank you, Mr. Callahan. Next, Councilman Gordon.
Thank you very much. First off, I'd like to say that economic development is a top priority. Economic development leads to job creation. We must be creative in our approach to attracting new businesses to our community. This effort is not only a city council effort, but also one that requires participation by other organizations and individuals as well. Recognizing that economic development is a major focus of the current council, we recently established a newly created position of Director of Economic Development and Grant Administration. I'm proud we did that. I'm happy to have been part of that process. Now, next, lowering property taxes is important to citizens. Council recently reduced the property tax rate for Smithville, not the overall tax rate for Bastrop County, because we have no influence there. We will endeavor to maintain a favorable tax rate for citizens in the face of unprecedented growth. Next, infrastructure projects that improve the operation of our community is and will be an important component of my mission. We've implemented or approved the following projects: water storage tank repair, Southeast 2nd Street detention pond, 2nd Street drainage improvement, expansion of safe routes to school, road and street repairs, and the new 4th Avenue Bridge. And Joanna's already mentioned that the upcoming Highway 95 upgrade, which includes shoulders and pedestrian improvements, is on tap. Drainage is still a central issue and is being addressed. We're seeking an additional external grant funding of about $12.5 million to implement citywide drainage improvements. Also, business growth is a key component of my mission as council member. Working hand in hand with the Smithville Area Chamber of Commerce, we've seen our local businesses grow from 23 to 34 in the last year. This is significant for a small town such as ours. This growth does provide more jobs. However, we still need to promote our town to attract light manufacturing as well as service jobs. I believe in the promotion of the shop local mantra. It's good for local businesses and our sales tax revenue stays here. I will continue to support the health of our established businesses while encouraging others to do the same. Citizen engagement is key, as we saw last night, to the maintenance.
Councilman Gordon, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you are over your time. I
Okay,
apologize.
sorry about that. All right,
Sorry,
folks, thank you.
I'm sorry. Betty McBriar.
Thank you, April. I have been reading and studying for the last few months of the city manager's reports concerning our city. And I feel fairly confident that many of the issues that people are talking about are actually being handled as we speak. The timing may seem slow, and there are a lot of wheels and a lot of cogs that are involved in these issues, so they're not going to happen overnight. But many projects are currently underway. Certainly the paving and the housing. And I know the paving is near to my heart as well. We have a house that needs some paving in the road. I'm definitely, business growth and revenue is at the top of my list. Smithville has always needed more businesses. We simply need a way to find out how to support those. That's always been a struggle in the past. Over the decades, it's always been a struggle. Infrastructure, I know that's being worked on, but once again, there are a lot of spider webs out there. And sometimes when you work on something like that, you have to think about the long-term effect of what you're doing. So it's not like it can be done overnight. And yes, the tax easing would be nice. Like I said before, once especially for the elderly who have fixed budgets, easing some of the tax would be great. One thing we must remember is we have a sign, and I remember when they put it up and we never could figure it out then, but over the years it's become, you can understand it. It says Smithville, the heart of the megapolis, or megapolis, however you choose to pronounce it. We thought it was kind of silly at the time, but over the years we figured it out. We'll let the megapolis have all the big things out there. We're going to keep Smithville the way we love Smithville, and we'll stay the heart of the megapolis. So thank you.
Thank you, Betty. And if David Harrington is watching, I will give a shout out that he will appreciate very much you mentioning the heart of the megalopolis or megapolis.
Megalopolis. We never could figure out how to pronounce that silly sign name, but
yes, ma'am. Next, we have Charles Dilts.
First, I'd like to say that preserving and protecting Smithville and the great qualities that make it a wonderful place to live, work, and raise a family is my most significant goal. The charms of small town America are getting harder to find with each passing year, yet growth and change are inevitable. We must explore and discuss with vision the kind of small town we wish to keep. First, I want to figure out how to lower our tax rate by looking at property valuations within the city itself. In the last several years, property valuations in Smithville have surged, and in 2020 alone, valuations rose by $15 million and will continue to rise within the next few years. While the council may have no actual say on property valuations, what the council can do is to ensure the tax rate doesn't get out of hand. Excuse me. And also, I want to look into how that could be done to lower it even further, at least maintain it. Infrastructure is also another issue that's paramount to our community. Even though we made great strides in the area of infrastructure, however, there are other areas that can be addressed and must be addressed as Smithville continues to grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Next, Dan Gerdes.
Well, after attending the city council meeting last night, where emotions were high, it became abundantly clear We need to improve communication between the city and the citizens. Growth and change is inevitable, but it must be handled transparently and thoughtfully. We have to adapt to changes in communication by sharing information on social media with enough notice so that people have sufficient time to not only learn of issues, but to thoughtfully consider and study the options and voice their opinions to the city council well in advance of the meetings. The way it is currently structured, the city manager provides the agenda on Friday evening before a Monday meeting. I feel that 72 hours over a weekend prior to making decisions on behalf of citizens is not enough time to thoughtfully consider all the issues and speak to the citizens and all the parties involved before making a decision. This can easily be fixed with more notice on agenda items. A week or even 2 would be effective and beneficial to everyone. I also believe that our aging infrastructure and outdated development ordinances are huge issues that must be addressed as we continue to grow and welcome new residents. Our current development ordinances with the subdivision ordinance hadn't been updated in 23 years. Our city has changed dramatically, and we need current ordinance to reflect that along with the wants and needs of our citizens. In addition, improving streets, repairing sidewalks, and replacing missing stop signs are basic responsibilities of a city government, which we can all agree has a positive impact on our community.
Thank you, Stan. Finally, Tom Etheridge.
Thanks, April. This is going to be repetitive, but I guess great minds think alike. In the very near term, I'd like to see the city conduct a formal review of our current zoning ordinance. As part of that initiative, I'd like to see the concept of overlay districts being considered. With overlay districts, we get more granularity within each of the basic zoning categories, allowing us to perhaps drive development in ways and locations that we want, and by contrast, deter it in locations in ways that we don't. Through this initiative, we can also create conditions that improve the opportunities for attainable housing. Housing is another critical challenge, I think, for the city, certainly now, but I think even more so in the future. And as I'll discuss in a later question, this initiative should include provisions for accommodating potential mixed-use zoning in an area I would support for annexation along 71. Also, in the near term, I'd like the council to explore ways to promote the development of Main Street. We have some wonderful businesses downtown, but it's important that we try to find ways to replace currently vacant storefronts with businesses that cater to local residents. Options such as tax credits, abatements, rebates, grants, other forms of incentives could be used to get desired outcomes. Developing Main Street further provides not only additional goods and services for our community through the opening of new businesses, but also expands pedestrian traffic, foot traffic, which generates sales for the existing businesses and promotes greater social interaction among our residents. Longer term, I'd like to see opportunities identified and pursued for locating businesses on the south side of the city. While I do not yet fully understand all the dynamics of that challenge, I have repeatedly heard from residents who live in that area that that's one of their top concerns. Other initiatives I believe are worthy would be job training, particularly for trades, infrastructure improvements, particularly related to drainage, and then recruitment of new employers. Thanks, April.
Thank you, Tom. We'll move on to the next question. What is your position on the city working to create more job opportunities in Smithville? And how would you encourage business development on the south side of the railroad tracks? And again, we'll begin with you, Mayor Morgan.
All right, I like this one. A grant submitted to St. David's Foundation in March would support a Smithville Workforce Training Academy to provide training programs in healthcare and skilled trades as the initial offerings. The mission is to provide education and skills needed for students to find jobs that provide career advancement opportunity. Also, to provide local employers with a locally generated workforce. This will be housed in the old tax office on Fawcett Street, and we're looking at the possibility of a second location south of the tracks. Workforce availability is a major factor in allowing current businesses to grow and to attracting additional employers in Smithville. As job opportunities increase and trained workers are available to fill them, socioeconomic conditions overall will improve. Commercial development south of the tracks will depend upon potential investors seeing an opportunity for profitability. That's just a fact of life. This means enough customers with money to spend on the goods and services they plan to provide, and support for those willing to start new businesses. 3 factors will help this happen: additional housing to create more customers, increased spending capability as improved skills command higher pay, and support for new entrepreneurs in terms of financing, skills training, and support services. The Chamber is currently providing some good programs in this area to support businesses, and a logical next phase would be to move into a business incubator concept to help new entrepreneurs and people entering the job market to develop skills in these areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Jerry Callahan.
Yeah, mayor is an interesting position. I will listen to the residents. I have been listening to the residents and business owners in the area, people on the Hill as well as on the south side. I believe Smithville is growing at a rate where the Chamber has done an outstanding job, and I wish to give them kudos. I do believe that we are reaching the point where we need a separate economic development corporation. This will allow the Chamber to focus on the businesses in Smithville, provide training and other job opportunities for people potentially coming into town. I believe an economic development corporation will deal with interviewing new businesses that want to come into Smithville. The economic development corporation would focus on all areas of Smithville and would be able to spend more time with the various residents on south side, east side, west side, all sides of the city. Again, the Chamber, I believe, is being stretched a little thin. The changes are coming fast and furious to the city of Smithville. The training is great. The city is great. And I believe that we can attract many good new businesses to bring their values and change our values and help the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Callahan. Next, Councilman Gordon.
Okay, thank you very much again. Firstly, in order to create more job opportunities in Smithville, we should work hand in hand with the Smithville Area Chamber of Commerce and our new Director of Economic Development. And in fact, we already do this. Business development in the southern portion of town where I live demands special attention. Most property, from a realistic point of view, is used for residential purposes and is not generally suitable for business use. However, there are some places that are exceptions. I do think we can help the existing small businesses on the south side to prosper and expand. Give you examples of ones that already exist here. Grandma's Nursery, Word of Mouth Barbecue, Smithville Heating and Air, Taqueria Tita's, and Taqueria Picante are notable businesses in our neighborhood. So let's provide more exposure and patronage of these existing businesses as a small start. Secondarily, we need to encourage local and external investors to examine the properties south of the tracks for potential locations for new businesses. As was mentioned earlier, profitability will drive these decisions. Some of the properties that fit this bill are, and I can point them out specifically, 2 large lots at the intersection of Miller and MLK, the intersection of MLK and Highway 95, which is for sale, and the historic 13-acre West End Park. All of these properties I've known since childhood. I suspect the owners would be interested in a fair market sale or investment, so we need to explore this. I know the owners of these properties, as I said before, from childhood, and that is one of my missions. Again, let's keep in mind that we already have resources and tools in place to make these things happen, and that is the Smithville Area Chamber of Commerce and our new Director of Economic Development. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman Gordon. Betty McBriar.
Thank you. I wasn't quite sure about the context of the beginning of this question, so my statement is like this: whether they mean actual city employees or whether they mean general employees, because that would be 2 different venues. If they think we need more city employees, whether it be, you know, in the Parks Department or in City Hall or whatever, then that's a different discussion, because that would entail more revenue to obviously pay salaries and things like that. If they're talking general jobs, yes, absolutely. Smithville has always needed that. And I'd like to be a part of helping that come to fruition. Like I said, got 7 grandkids here, and I'd like to keep them near and dear to my heart, because we're not going anywhere. We're here. And they're going to need a place to work. If they choose to leave, then they can come back and find a job or whatever. But yes, it's very important. The South Side, absolutely. I'm all for development of that. I think its time has come. Its time has been there for a long time. There's just not been a lot of advancement in that, if you can call it that. I love seeing the new things go up. I'd like to also see more businesses and in larger numbers.
Betty, we've lost you, unfortunately. Your screen has frozen if you can hear me. We're going to come back to Betty in case she's able to log back in. So we will go ahead and move on to Charles Dilts. Charles, you are muted.
There we go. All right, April, thank you once again. And I'd first like to say the Chamber of Commerce has done an excellent job in encouraging our small business growth and also help revitalizing Main Street and filling up our storefronts. And also it's especially essential to encourage further job growth to expand our tax base. This needs to be done with proactive thought and input from our community. One idea is to attract businesses that are low impact on our community, but are able to bring in significant tax revenue. I've heard these referred to as ratables. They generate more in tax revenue than they cost in city services. These ratables help a community grow by providing funding for infrastructure, better support for our city workers, police department, and volunteer fire department who work hard for a community 365 days a year. And also another good opportunity coming down the line, as mentioned by Mayor Morgan, is the Job Academy, located on the old tax building on Boston Street. This academy will be a great opportunity for anyone looking to gain a certification in trades such as being an electrician, plumber, and many other jobs, without the need to go to a trade school or college. This will enable individuals within the community to start working for other local businesses and also maybe start having their own businesses. Also on the south side of town, as everyone has already mentioned, you're having to be realistic that it's mostly is residential, and it's going to take some time planning and also trying to bring in investors to come over and actually invest in businesses. And I think we have a lot of great opportunity over there, and it really must continue to be looked into. But also it needs to be for all over Smithville. And working together, I'm sure we can accomplish many great things. Thank you, April.
Thank you, Charles. Stan Gerdes.
First and foremost, I'm pro-business. I have a track record of promoting policies that create jobs throughout my career, both at the state level in the governor's office and at the federal level at the Department of Energy. I look forward to hearing from the citizens of what they think the best way is to create jobs on not only on the south side of tracks, but on both sides of the tracks, and agree that there's a lot of opportunity to add jobs here in Smithville. And like Bill touched on, I highly encourage the participation in the grant programs through Jill, our Director of Economic Development and Grants Administration. She's a huge asset to the city and is very knowledgeable in her trade, and has gotten a lot of substantial grants and ideas going. And so hopefully, if elected, we can work hand in hand and get some things going on the south side. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. Finally, Tom Etheridge.
Thanks, April. I'll echo what Stan just said. I did have the good fortune to spend some time with Jill, and very impressive along with April. April and I had coffee, and she was very generous with her insights and has some great ideas at the chamber for ways that we can, stimulate job growth, job creation, along with housing for a diverse constituency, support of local businesses and an educated workforce. They're all cornerstones of economic development. In fact, they're really interrelated. Joanne Morgan and I have talked before about how they all have to work together for any of them independently to really be successful. We need to obviously identify initiatives that bring the right kind of businesses to town, hopefully to create jobs in the future for young people to stay in Smithville. We have to educate our workforce. The city staff and the chamber, as I said earlier, have many great ideas, I think, and I'd love to be able to participate in that and support it. As I said earlier, I hear repeatedly from residents throughout the city, but in particular, those that I met with on the south side, that they want businesses in their neighborhood. I have a considerable amount of business experience, and I can certainly appreciate, the law of supply and demand and the need to be able to bring investors and attract it. And certainly residential use is the predominant use over there. So there's some challenges there. but I don't want to presuppose that I know the dynamics of this situation, so I'm committed to trying to learn more. I would like to give a shout out to Councilmember Gordon and Councilmember Bruno. Both of them have been very generous in recent weeks with me and their time to tour me around the South Side and give me a little bit of history for someone that hasn't been here. So Bill and Janice, if you're watching, I appreciate that personally.
Thank you, Tom. Betty, I can see that you've logged back in. Can you hear me? Are you there, Betty? Okay, we're going to move on to our next question. And again, we'll continue in the same order. What are your thoughts on the development of the Highway 71 commercial corridor, i.e. types of stores, restaurants, medical facilities, or other businesses related to anticipated population growth? Please also address your thoughts on annexation along this same corridor. And again, Mayor Morgan, we'll start with you.
I would say that my vision of an ideal type development. Let me start over.
I'm sorry, yes, start again. I apologize.
Okay, my vision of an ideal type of development along Highway 71 would be a mixed-use development like the one that was envisioned by the Capella Group a couple of years ago. That offered multifamily and senior housing fronted by retail, such as bank, convenience store, restaurant, and also a hotel, which is badly needed. As a planned development site, it would include adequate parking, sidewalks, and green space to make it attractive and livable as well as commercially viable. As part of our strategic plan, we are actively pursuing a developer who could make that vision a reality. In fact, Robert has a meeting with one tomorrow. Our proximity to LaGrange and Bastrop make us less desirable to big box stores that are already established in those cities. And in my opinion, this is a plus for Smithville and allows us to maintain our unique character. Other types of development that I think would add jobs and services that would complement instead of competing with our downtown area would be light industrial, medical services, research, and technology companies. The laws on annexation changed in 2019 and now require the consent of landowners or affected voters for property to be annexed. Recent annexations were accomplished through agreements with developers where both the developer and the city benefited from the deal. Chapter 380 of the Local Government Code authorizes municipalities to offer incentives designed to promote economic development in exchange for the developer providing infrastructure or other benefits to the city, including an agreement to be annexed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Morgan. Jerry Callahan.
Yes, the Highway 71 business corridor is a very large and a good place to start some economic development. The question is interesting because we have stores, restaurants, medical facilities already there. I understand there's a large filling station and potentially a fast food restaurant going in across from Spiral Drill. I haven't found any information on this, but it appears that the project is moving along very well. As mayor, I will listen to businesses and residents as I've been running for the office of mayor, and make sure that everybody's interests are at heart. Again, there are businesses that we don't want to step on their toes, but we want to bring additional business into that zone. It is a perfect place to expand. Again, I want to refer to the fact that the developer had to have a variance to put an apartment building in that zone. I want to make sure that the city in its best interest is not actually maybe stepping on its own toes in limiting that development. I believe the development out there is virtually unlimited as long as we focus on Smithville. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Councilman Gordon. Councilman Gordon, you are muted.
Thank you. Now, as our population grows, businesses and investors will determine based on their analyses what goods and services are best suited for Highway 71 commercial corridor. I would personally encourage more retail stores that provide goods and services tailored to our needs. I will work with our new Director of Economic Development and a Chamber of Commerce to make it attractive for businesses to locate along the corridor, while simultaneously, and I might point this out, supporting our downtown businesses that have already taken the financial risk to bring goods and services to our citizens. These are not mutually exclusive, so we can do both. Simply put, when we discuss annexation along Highway 71, it's important that it should be done in a win-win manner so that we have an outcome that is desirable for both parties. And I think Joanna did mention the Chapter 380 agreements, and that's what we use currently. And there are restrictions on how we can annex compared to what we did in the past. Please keep an eye on the Hill Road development, which is a 9-unit apartment complex. And we encourage it to move forward. We are not putting stumbling blocks there. Joanna's already mentioned the Capella properties. Very interesting and very nice. And also, I'll mention one other one, and that is the 179 space Creekside RV Park. These are important developments that are moving forward currently, and we have our eye on a number of developments which we cannot disclose at this point that I think people will be pleased to see, and it indicates growth in our city. Development is already happening in an orderly and planned manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Gordon. And I see that Betty McBriar is back on. Betty, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. And I'm going to give you 2 minutes and 30 seconds because when you dropped out earlier, you still had 30 more seconds. You can use that time if you like, but you have 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
That's okay. I was actually trying to comment to you and tell you that's part of the infrastructure problem here in Smithville is at this time of night, our cable drops out, and that's what happened. My internet dropped out. So
you were not on earlier. Do you need me to read the question that we're on now, or do you
no,
have?
I believe it's about Highway 71.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Yeah,
yes, ma'am.
No, I frantically did it between my daughter and the phone, and we got it. We're there. No, okay. I've always been for monitored development along 71. I've sat out there and just looked at it and watched all the cars go by. It's a diamond in the rough, and it just needs polishing. So many cars pass by every day. We need to find a way to pull them in for a visit and some shopping. I'd like to see more mom and pop. I'm not real crazy about the chain stores. I think we need the mom and pop, small type, unique stores or restaurants to be considered. As for annexation, and someone can certainly tell me if I'm incorrect on this, I have been told we are voluntary annexation only, but certainly I'm a proponent for annexation. But and if we're only a voluntary annexation, that may be a little difficult.
Thank you, Betty. Charles Dilts.
All right, thank you, April. First, I'd like to say that Betty is correct that 71 is a diamond in the rough, but the potential for it is limitless. Also, it's very important that we try to balance our current small businesses along Main Street and trying to find a proper balance along 71 corridor. Going forward, we're trying to bring in more technology and also light industrial, such as mixology, which is on the outside of town, which is a nice, clean source to begin with, that also it's homegrown. I want to see more homegrown businesses come out along 71. While it's important to bring in outside businesses, we need to keep encouraging small business growth here in town. And as I said, working together, we can ensure we find that balance, keep working to grow, bring in a variety of restaurants, other goods and services that will help benefit the citizens in our community as a whole. And I said that the potential is limitless. And going forward, I think working together, we can achieve anything. Thank you, April.
Thank you, Charles. Stan Gerdes.
Like I said before, I'm pro-business. I'm open to hearing from both the developers and the citizens on ideas they have in mind. I've always approached every project with the mindset that there is a solution to every problem. Not that the 71 is a problem, but making sure that we put the right types of developments, stores, restaurants, and that sort of thing could potentially be a problem if we don't listen to the folks that live here, listen to what they want. And that we can get there with improved communication between everyone involved, the city, the developers, the citizens, but then using a common sense collaborative approach, we can come up with a plan that then hopefully make everyone happy and make everyone proud to live here.
Thank you, Stan. Finally, Tom Etheridge.
Thanks, April. I'm a strong advocate in concept of annexing and developing 71 corridor. I think as everyone has identified correctly, it's got a lot of potential. I think there's north of 50,000 cars a day that go by the 95-71 intersection. We need obviously a more diverse tax base. We're heavy on residential in town, and this could accommodate the type of development without jeopardizing the character of the core. We benefit from geography in this case, as our downtown core is separate from the 71 corridor. My preference, like some have mentioned, is certainly not national change, but I think we should keep an open mind as we have geography on our side. Remember, there's a lot of different types of national change. They're not all Walmart, and some of your fast food and your restaurants are national change. Some of your workout facilities and health related are national change. So I think we should keep an open mind on that. In order for me to move beyond the conceptual support of this, I'd really need to understand the cost to the city of annexation and extending services, and really make sure, as I think Robert's done a really good job of, is make sure that we make a good bargain for the citizens of Smithville when we consider doing something like that. Thanks, April.
Thank you, Tom. That concludes the 3 questions that were specifically submitted by citizens. We will now finish out our forum with closing statements. Again, we will go in the same order. So we will start with Mayor Morgan. And pardon me, I will remind you all that we are back to the 90-second time.
I don't think I'll require 90 seconds. I just want to say I appreciate everyone's attention and participation and the interest shown in participating in city government, not only by these candidates represented here tonight, but all the citizens that have over the past months and year shown an increased interest. I think that's one thing that growth will do for us. As growth comes in, more people are affected, and when people are affected, they get involved. So I think that's positive. People listening, people watching this, you've heard from us. Now please vote and please stay involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Morgan. Jerry Callahan.
Yes, absolutely. It is an honor to run, and it would be an honor to serve. Thank you, April. Thank you, the Chamber, and thank you for all the candidates for participating in this. It is a core of what makes us, well, the United States of America and Texas, by the way. There have been multiple recent changes in the city council. The city is made up of people, young, old, in between. All of us are imperfect. I think the city council and the mayor, especially, that talks to people, we don't need to be comfortable in the position. We should be nervously anxious. That's our job. I don't believe to that end we should throw the baby out with the bathwater. If I win, I want Joanna to be around so I can pick her brain. I want to talk with her and learn from her experiences and her mistakes. We all make mistakes. I bet as a teacher, she would learn something as well, and it would help us transition. I would like the rest of the city council to do the same, whoever wins. Ultimately, this will help the city, the residents, and anyone else that loves this little town. We'll be neighbors, not only in name, but in actions. Again, I ask you to vote for Jerry Callahan and focus on Smithville. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Councilman Gordon. Councilman Gordon, you are muted again.
Now we're alive now. Thank you very much. I want to point out that population growth appears to be a significant challenge facing the city of Smithville, as we all know. We've grown from 3,817 people to 4,150 residents in the last year, and that's climbing. I expect that Smithville will embrace the growth that is destined to happen as Austin grows. In order to improve the quality of life for all residents, we must attract more businesses, expand housing options, improve streets, sidewalks, reduce crime, and revitalizing downtown. This is what I've done over the last 6 years, and this is what I intend to do going forward. I expect to see more new residents, more businesses, more jobs, more tourists, and yes, we need to talk about tourism, and want to see more housing. It is our job fundamentally to manage this growth that is inevitable for our community. So please vote for Bill Gordon, Place 3, City Council in the upcoming election, and vote early starting on the 19th of this month. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman Gordon. Betty McBriar.
Thank you, April. I would just like to say that Smithville is my hometown. These roots run very deep. Our daughter Ashley has worked for the city for over 23 years, the last 3 as director of the rec center. My husband Mike recently retired after 13 and a half years with the Parks Department. We have all our grandchildren and our children here, and that's a big investment. Unlike my opponent, who has only been here 1.5 years, I know Smithville's history. I have attended every campaign function because I felt they were important, no matter how small. I take this election and the issues involved seriously. I won't please everyone all the time. I would only have 1 vote. But if I'm elected to Place 2, City Council, I would do my best to work with our citizens and council members alike to keep this town one of the most charming and desirable places to live, work, and raise a family. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. Charles Dilts.
Thank you, April. While looking into the future is important, we must never forget our history and the need to preserve our heritage, which I believe is paramount to our community. I hope to be blessed with the opportunity to serve Smithville as a city councilman, and with your support, I will be able to do that. While we may continue to face unprecedented challenges and times, but with careful anticipation, preparation, and thoughtful planning, we can begin to see a new perspective on how to achieve a bright and successful future for Smithville. And please make sure to get out there and vote for Charles Dilts, Place 3 for the future of Smithville. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Stan Gerdes.
I want to thank April and the Chamber for coordinating this candidate forum, and all the participants and the viewers at home for making it a great success. I want what's best for Smithville and the people who live here. If elected, I look forward to the opportunity to being a voice for the community, always doing what's right and preserving our small town values and improving communications between the city and the people. Please make your voices heard. Early voting starts this Monday, the 19th, and goes through Tuesday, April 27th. Election Day is Saturday, May 1st. I hope I've earned your vote, and together we will preserve Smithville. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. And Tom Etheridge.
Thanks, April. I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this group. Thank all of you for your commitment to service, those that have served for many years, as well as those that have thrown your hat into the ring. It's an honor for me to be part of this group. Rest assured, regardless of the election outcome, I love Smithville. I'm committed to Smithville. I intend to continue to work in every way I can to make Smithville better for all of us, as well as the next generation. I do believe I possess some unique skills that make me a compelling option for Place 2. Above all, I encourage everyone to go vote. Thanks again, April.
Thank you, Tom. That concludes our candidate forum this evening. I again want to thank all of our candidates for being here today, for both our candidates for both mayor and city council. I will reiterate what some of our candidates said tonight. Early voting begins on April 19th. Actual election day is May 1st. And I will say on behalf of the Smithville Area Chamber of Commerce, thank you all so much for participating in this process. And for those of you out there watching, I will remind you that you can watch this recording via the Chamber's Facebook page, via the Smithville Public Library's Facebook page. And you can also watch the one that we did yesterday for school board candidates. Thank you again all so very much for participating this evening.
Thank you, April.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, April.
Thank you for listening to Smithville Chamber Chatter with your host, April Daniels. If you'd like to be a guest, email us at april.daniels@smithvilletx.org. Between now and our next episode, be sure to check out the Chamber's website at www.smithvilletx.org. Until then, we'll see you on Main Street.